Once, the word protestor conjured images of fire hoses and raised fists. Selma, Stonewall, Tiananmen. These were people putting bodies on the line, demanding dignity, risking exile, violence, and death. But today, the image has collapsed into farce. What we see now is a shrieking art school dropout in a Che Guevara shirt, throwing soup at a painting or gluing themselves to the floor in front of a minivan assembly line. The theatre remains, but the meaning is gone. The activist, once a cultural conscience, has become a meme. And nowhere is this collapse more visible than in the current backlash against AI. It's no longer traditional painters or illustrators leading the charge. Increasingly, the loudest voices against AI tools are not creators, but activists, professional protesters, grievance addicts, and ideological enforcers who see AI not as a tool, but as a threat to their aesthetic monopoly. These are not artists in any classical sense. They are cultural bureaucrats, playing hall monitor to the internet's creative explosion, desperate to regain control over a discourse they no longer own. This reaction is predictable. The traditional art community, already heavily aligned with anti-capitalist and left-leaning ideologies, finds itself trapped in a contradiction. On one hand, they champion equality of access, anti-corporate resistance, and power to the people. On the other, they decry the democratization of artistic tools, tools that actually give power to the people. AI tools don't ask your GPA, your gallery history, or your identity. They don't respect the taste of the cultural elite. And, worst of all, they work. Fast. Cheap. Well, that's terrifying to those whose careers depend on being irreplaceable. What we're witnessing is not a moral crusade. It's a turf war. The activist-artist hybrid, largely sustained by social capital and ideological insulation, is watching the center slip away. Their curated space, once gate-kept through jargon and academic ritual, is now flooded with newcomers armed with nothing but curiosity and a GPU. And they hate it. In response, they've embraced spectacle. Not persuasion, not craft, but tantrum. From museum vandalism to online witch hunts against AI developers, the strategy is no longer to build, it's to burn. If you can't outdraw the machine, you can always try to make its creators unemployable. That, it seems, is the new ethic of resistance. But the public isn't buying it anymore. The tolerance for activism has worn thin, especially among working-class observers who see the irony clearly. These people claim to fight for the proletariat while attacking the very tools that allow a minimum wage worker to generate a stunning book cover without bowing to the aesthetic tastes of some disaffected cartoonist on Twitter. AI art, for many, has become a symbol of liberation. Not from art, but from artists, or at least the cultural class that has weaponized art as a bludgeon. It breaks their monopoly. It exposes how much of their moral posturing was just control in costume. And it lets a new generation skip the sermon and get to the spark of creation directly. That's the real threat. Not to jobs, not to expression, but to a certain kind of activist whose power came not from making art, but from gatekeeping it. And so they howl. Because without their moral costume, without their social credit score, without their ability to decide who counts and who doesn't, what's left? Just another voice. Just another midwit in the museum, yelling at a future that no longer needs their permission.